This is Britton Colquitt, Super Bowl 50 champion, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Hell, wait till you try those half-pound burgers. Same thing, Wagyu. Wow, they're incredible. Best I've ever had again. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, and a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Whoever's tuning in out there, hey, you never know, folks. Also, a big welcome in to everybody on television, on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Wow, Frontier, I said that, and and Comcast and Charter and all those cable providers and independents as well in select markets, as well as hotel TV where applicable, plus everybody streaming on Pick Your Favorite Streamer and on Facebook on Chicago Food Favorites. And that is Chicago Food Favorites, a fun group, a food group. Talk about your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants, favorite recipes, whatever it is. Have some fun, make some friends. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, and by the way, folks, teaming up with the Sports Circus is Vacation Buddies, and they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas or in Branson, Missouri, or in Orlando, Florida, if you can answer a simple trivia question. Here's the question. Which NBA superstar has won 6 NBA championships? Is it A, Magic Johnson, B, Shaquille O'Neal, C, Kobe Bryant, or D, Michael Jordan? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-577. Again, which NBA superstar won 6 NBA titles? Is it A, Magic Johnson, B, Shaquille O'Neal, C, Kobe Bryant, or D, Michael Jordan? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights in Vegas or in Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida. 888-576-5777. Call now. All right, moving on. So, as we watch these games, pick your favorite sport, baseball, football, whatever the heck it is, something like basketball. I love hockey. There are always those rules that you just say, well, wait a minute. I didn't know about that. The obscure rules, the rules that some people say, well, I didn't know that existed. Well, guess what? There are rules out there, and you're going to have to learn them. If you're going to complain about the calls, just make sure you know the rule book first. Because if you don't know the rule book first, now you got a bigger problem. Because now you'll be talking out of your elbow, and somebody will say, hey, wait a minute. You didn't know that. You're just talking out of your you-know-what. How about this one? This is my favorite one, and this is a baseball rule. I'm going to focus on baseball for a little bit here. And this is one that, as a player, I used to do this one, I wouldn't say on a regular basis, but it would happen almost once a game. Because I knew that there were certain hitters, as a pitcher, I knew certain hitters were going to crowd the plate. They want to get right up on top of the plate. They want to make sure that I can't cover the outside, and it would be essentially the outside part of the plate, and it would be out of their reach. So they would crowd the plate, and eventually they would put their elbows or they'd put their hands, where the bat is, whatever, over home plate. Oh yeah, and guess what? In Major League Baseball, in case you don't know, if a batter is hit by a pitch while within the strike zone, it's ruled a dead ball strike, and the batter is not awarded first base. How do you like that? So I just waited for guys. Go ahead. Put your hands over the plate. Put your elbows over the plate, because I'm going to drill you. And that's exactly what would happen. And I didn't really care because I knew it was a strike. I know the rule book. And that's one of those ones that as a pitcher, you've got to know that. Because they try to take away the inside part of the plate. They say, oh, well, if you're going to throw inside, you're going to hit us. No, well, you can't set up over the plate. You got to stay in your batter's box. You can't dive over the plate. You can't have your hands over the plate as far as, I mean, you can. But if I hit you as a pitcher, it doesn't mean you get a free pass. No, not at all. It just means it is a strike. And look at this. Think about this. The strike zone definition itself, it's an area over home plate between, of course, basically the knees and the letters, that kind of thing. Now, the old hit by pitch, that is obviously if you were awarded while you're outside the strike zone, not inside the strike zone. So that dead ball strike is legit, and it does happen. And the ball is immediately dead, of course, but the pitch is called a strike. But the batter, yes, he stays in there, unless it's a third strike, of course. Now, that's always the fun one. So if you drill them on strike three, hey, they're out, and they walk away with a bruise or something on their hand, elbow, arm, whatever the hell it is, that's over home plate in the first place. And there's all kinds of rules about baseball that some people don't want to adhere to, and that's one of them. That's probably the one that it's the least popular. People just don't know. And I would argue that most people, and a lot of players don't even know that one. So, and a lot of players, believe it or not, don't even know half of the damn rule book in the first place. Well, the one that really matters is the proverbial infield fly rule. That's right, the infield. Who the hell knows I know what the infield fly rule is, but do you, the listener? Most people don't know what it is. So, an infield fly, of course, is a fair fly ball, not including a line drive, nor an attempted bunt, which can be caught by an infielder with ordinary effort, when first and second or first and second and third are occupied before 2 outs. That's right. The infield fly rule can be a cause for confusion, though. And there was some controversy regarding the old infield fly rule and the call between the Braves and the Cardinals in a postseason game not too terribly long ago. And in fact, the little known part of this rule is that the infield fly cannot be called on a bunt. Generally, bunts don't get very far off the ground in the first place, but there are occasions when the hitter pops up straight up in the air, and you never know who's going to catch it. But think about the idea. And look, the infield fly rule is legit, but what can happen is there could be a fly ball. Maybe the shortstop goes to catch the ball because the pop-up with runner on first base or a first and second. And what happens is, conveniently, the shortstop puts the glove up to try to catch it, but doesn't catch it on purpose. Well, guess what? Now the ball drops in the infield, and now you've got a forced out at second, and you got a force out at first. Actually, you got a force out at all bases except home, at home plate. So the reality is, technically, they can turn a triple play on that. However, there's a lot more to it, but we're going to save your ears and the bleeding for something else. Now, Rule 3.09 says, players of opposing teams shall not fraternize at any time while in uniform. And folks, we see this every game, before the games. Well, never really after the games. You see it before the games. And even while they're yip-yapping at first base or second base or whatever the hell it is. Hey, how's the family? How's the kids? Whatever. Did you get paid $80 million this year? Because I did, that kind of stuff. Well, look, this is one of those archaic rules that no one follows and no one would ever enforce in the first place. So players regularly talk, as I mentioned, during the batting practices and on the field, on the base pass, whatever the hell it is. It's not like the old days when they didn't talk and they would go in hard to second base when baseball was a man's game. And they actually went in and tried to take out the second baseman because that's part of the game. right? So you got a guy in first. There's a chopper two hopper to short, and the shortstop throws the ball to second, and then the runner on first base that's going to second base ends up doing what? He ends up trying to take out the second baseman because that's their job, to make it so they cannot throw the ball to first place and double them up. But reality is you can't even play because now they're playing a little, you-know-what's game. I can't say that word because we have to keep this a family show, keep it a G-rated show. But that's how it works in today's game. So just like the idea of Rule .309, players not being able to talk to one another on the opposing teams or whatever, well, that one is flushed down the toilet. And honestly, it was always a thing. I mean, even back when I was playing, you don't really talk to the other team. Focus on the game. Whether you're on first base or on another base or whatever it is, you're not talking about, hey, what are you guys going to do after the game or this, that, and the other. No, it's competition. I mean, there's something really going on here. And so you're supposed to take it where, hey, look, I'm not going to talk to you. I'll talk to you after the game or I'll talk to you before the game, but I can't talk to you during the game. And those were the unwritten rules of baseball, and it was really frowned upon when the players from the opposing teams would talk to one another. I mean, even back when I was playing, that's how it was. I mean, you don't talk to the other team. No, you don't do it. I don't care if you're on first base and maybe that's your brother-in-law or something like that. You don't do it. Period. So, tell you what, when we come back, we're going to start off with Rule 4.03. When the ball is put in play at the start or during the game. And I'll give you the rest of that in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on The Circus.
You'll get your chance, smart guy.
What does he think I am, an imbecile?
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. B-E-E-P-I-N autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, this segment is brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. Folks, make sure you check them out. All right, welcome in everybody listening in on our affiliates and television, radio, whatnot, including our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. Thanks for waking up with us. Over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. Thanks for driving home with us throughout the heartland, all the way out to the West Coast. Those driving between LA and, actually in San Diego as well, and Las Vegas on Interstate 15. Listening in on Highway Country Radio 101.3 FM. I'm sorry, 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM. Thanks for joining us on Highway Country Radio, as well as our friends up and down the West Coast, all the way up to Anchorage, down to Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the Yankees, 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Plus, welcoming everybody on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectra, WOW, Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets and Hotel TV where applicable, plus Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, YouTube, Deezer, and Stitcher, plus a whole lot of others. Listen, folks, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. I don't have it written down anywhere. And when you've done it thousands of times, it tends to be kind of locked into your head. But then again, sometimes you kind of forget a little bit. I did the last segment, but sometimes that happens. Anyway, folks, that's what happens again when you're 2,200. I have no idea how many episodes. I know I've done over 2,200 episodes here with the Sports Circus, but also an additional year and a half over on ESPN, over on the franchise too. So whatever, that's another 500 plus episodes. Who the hell knows? Anyway, so when you do it after a while, certain things get stuck in your head, certain ones don't. But this will get stuck in your head. In the first segment, I talked about a couple of nights in Vegas and Branson, Missouri, and Orlando, Florida, from Vacation Buddies. If you're interested in a couple of nights in Vegas, Orlando, or Branson, Missouri, and you know the answer to this trivia question, all you got to do is call the toll-free number and give them the answer, and you'll be on your way. Here's the question. Which NBA superstar won 6 NBA titles? Was it A, Magic Johnson, B, Shaquille O'Neal, C, Kobe Bryant, or D, Michael Jordan? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. And of course, Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they sure want to give you a couple of nights in Las Vegas or Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida. 888-576-5777. Call now. All right, leaving off where we were with the, I guess it was the obscure rules. And I said we were going to come back with Rule 4.03 for Major League Baseball. So when the ball is put in play at the start of the game or during a game, are you ready for this one, folks? All fielders, other than the catcher, shall be on the field, yes, in fair territory. I can't imagine anybody lining up in foul territory, but I don't know. I guess we've seen some pretty weird things. I mean, we've seen some weird shifts that sometimes you'd have, 5 infielders before the rule was changed, or you'd have 2 outfielders, or you'd have 4 outfielders, whatever. There's all kinds of crazy things that have happened on a baseball field, but I don't ever recall seeing anybody set up in foul territory, right, on the corners. I just don't recall seeing that. So that is Rule 4.0.3. And then again, by the way, there is 4.0.3a. Now the catcher shall station himself directly in back of the plate. He may leave his position at any time to catch or pitch, right, or make a play, except when the batter is being given an intentional base on balls. But the catcher must stand with both feet within the lines of the catcher's box until the ball leaves the pitcher's hand. And if he doesn't, the penalty is a balk. Now, of course, if there's nobody on base, that means it's just ball one or whatever it is. But otherwise, all the runners move up one base. So that is a pretty interesting one. And I've never seen violation of that one. And I knew what the rule was, but I've just never seen it explained as 4.03a. But here's another obscure one. Rule 6.08c. And of course, here we go, the catcher. If a play follows the catcher's interference, so think about catcher's interference, the manager of the offense may advise the home plate umpire that he elects to decline the interference penalty and accept the play. Now, such election shall be made immediately at the end of the play. So what does all that mean? Well, let's just say, I don't know, Big Slugger's up there. Big Slugger's up there and ends up following through. And I saw this in a game. It was Ohtani was at the plate, hitting from the left side, and he swung and he hit the catcher's glove, but he still got a hit. So he was able to muscle it out there and get himself a hit. So it was Dave Roberts' election to either A, say we want the catcher's interference, which Ohtani ended up getting a double out of it. Really, he stretched a single into a double. Or actually, do we just take first base? And obviously he's not going to take first base with the catcher's interference. So the reality was the manager can come right in and say, you know what? We don't want the catcher's interference. Now, we want what was the result in the first place. So it's either first base in this case or second base. Obviously, he took second base. So that's pretty interesting stuff. So a lot of people don't know these rules. Now, here's another one. Rule 7.05b. They say each runner, including the batter runner, may without liability to be put out, advance 3 bases. Are you ready for this? If a fielder deliberately touches a fair ball with his cap, mask, or any other part of his uniform detached from its proper place on his person. So let me give you an example. When you're a kid, you're out there playing Little League ball and you're playing with your friends or whatever. And let's say maybe you're playing in the outfield, left field, right center, whatever. And the ball is just flying right over your head. And you can see someone's going to end up with probably a home run or something to the effect anyway. And I remember doing this as a kid. You take your glove off and throw your glove in the air in hopes of knocking it down and, well, at least deflecting it, and you might be able to actually catch the ball. Now, in Little League or playground rules, none of that stuff matters because if you catch it, you catch it. So it only happens once out of probably every 100 turns. But the point is, because the timing is hard, but the reality is, in Major League Baseball, in this particular case, if you throw your glove up in the air or you throw your hat up in the air to stop the ball from traveling or whatever, well, guess what? The runner, or better yet, the batter in this case, is awarded 3 bases. That's right, 3 bases. So when you think about that idea, you're like, well, geez, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm not going to be doing that because, look, if this guy's already essentially going to have a home run, I mean, you could try to do it. So you could basically say, all right, I'm going to prevent a home run by throwing the glove up in the air, and then I'm going to knock it down, and then I'm going to give the guy 3 bases, so he's not going to get a home run. But guess what? In today's day of replay, what they do now, and we'll get into this in fan interference in the next segment, what happens now is that the angles and everything are calculated by the cameras, and they could determine if the ball likely would have left the yard. And if it did, they're still going to award the home run anyway. So you can't pick things up off your off your glove or your hat or anything like that and try to knock the ball down. You just can't do it. But it's kind of cool, though. Now, here's another one. Rule 8.04. When the bases are unoccupied, the pitcher shall deliver the ball within 12 seconds after he receives the ball. And each time the pitcher delays the game by violating this rule, the umpire shall call a ball. Well, now we already have a pitch clock. So some of these were put together a while back, but the pitch clock, I think you've got 15 seconds to deliver the ball in the first place with nobody on, and I believe you get 20 seconds with a runner on. So that rule has just been essentially extended out to 15 seconds with nobody on base. And so that's why Rule 8.04, when bases are unoccupied. Okay, so fine. So when they changed the rule, they took that rule and said, we're going to extend 3 seconds, and then we're going to go from 12 seconds to 15 seconds, and then we're just going to award a ball. And that's how that whole thing had come to be out there as a rule in the first place. So some of these rules are pretty interesting. Some of them you may say, well, they're a little elementary, but I'll tell you what, I'll guarantee none of you people that are listening right now knew all these rules, at least to this depth, because hell, I didn't even know some of these rules myself. But I did know most of them. All right, back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Frightening. Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found on all platforms such as Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeart, YouTube, Stitcher, Deezer, plus all other streamers, as well as social media too. And when you're at thesportscircus.com, make sure that you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners over there. One of them is the music of Jason Owens. Now, Jason Owens is a country music rising star. He's played Vegas over 200 times, and we're talking large strip properties, all the right places. Check him out at jasonowensmusic.com. That's jasonowensmusic.com, and tell him the circus sent you. All right, welcome back to everybody on radio and TV. You know who you are. Let's get back into these obscure rules and these other things that you didn't know. Better yet, you know what? Let's do this. Let's head over to the fan interference department in baseball, because we've already had some rules, at least for baseball. Let's get into these fan interference rules or rulings or whatever the hell it is. I mean, think about the idea. You could be watching a game and you saw, in fact, not too long ago, a couple of fans at Yankee Stadium pulled a ball out of Mookie Betts' glove in the World Series. And that was wrong. It was 100% wrong. And so the fans got kicked out for that game. I think it was Game 5 of the World Series. However, they were permitted to return to Yankee Stadium for other games, which is absolutely wrong in my opinion. I mean, look, in Major League Baseball, fan interference occurs, of course, when a spectator interferes with a batted or thrown ball or hinders the fielder's ability to make a play or steals the damn ball out of the glove. The umpire will call the ball dead and award bases or outs that would have occurred without the interference. And of course, that's arbitrary anyway. So if a fan interferes with a fielder attempting to catch a fly ball, the batter can be ruled out. So looking at this interference, of course, as I mentioned, it's when the spectator reaches in. The dead ball is the ball is immediately dead when the fan interference occurs. So just like the pitcher throwing the ball and hitting the batter that is lined up over the strike zone, all play stops. The ball is dead. Of course, it goes back to umpire judgment now. Now, umpire judgment is also part of the instant replay review as well. Sometimes the umpires need a little bit of help, and sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. Now, outs and bases. Now, look, if the interference prevents a fielder from catching a fly ball, the batter may be ruled out. The umpire also awards bases if they see if the fly, see if it was actually nullified by the interference in the first place. So ejections, they do happen every now and then. So look, after the fan interferes with the play, the spectator has to leave the game, but it doesn't mean that they're permanently banned from the stadium or anything like that. No, it just means, hey, just come back tomorrow. And then there is the idea of the old no man's land, the area where both fielder and spectator can legally touch a ball. It's sometimes referred to as that no man's land. But then you have the post plane. Once a batted ball has broken the plane of the spectator area, for example, gone into the stands, fans can catch it without penalty. And so that goes back to the old Bartman thing from 2003 when it was the Marlins and the Cubs, when apparently, I think it was Moises Alou, the left fielder for the Cubs, reached into the seats area, and Steve Bartman went to catch the ball because the ball was right over his seat, and he is allowed to do that. And unfortunately, everybody complained. They said, oh, it was interference. It cost him the World Series and all this other crap. No, it didn't. No, the Cubs' mistakes throughout the entire game caused them to lose that game, period. It wasn't one play, and as a matter of fact, that was not interference anyway if you look at the replay. So that's what the whole interference thing is, that no man's land deal. I mean, do you get banned? No. I mean, you really don't get banned. And in fact, in Steve Bartman's case, the fans went and bought him a condo down in Florida, believe it or not, just for apparently interfering. Because in fact, Florida went on to win the World Series. But the idea is, look, it's kind of arbitrary. You don't really know. I mean, look, what is the new rule if a fan catches the ball in Major League Baseball? What is the new rule? The ball shall be declared dead, and the base runner can be placed where the umpire determines they would have been without the interference. Now, how the hell do they know? We don't know because a lot of weird stuff happens on the field. Sometimes a player trips. Sometimes they run too wide. They run into one of the position players. I mean, crazy things happen. Sometimes they trip over the shoelaces. I mean, all kinds of crazy things happen on a baseball field. Sometimes they run into the first base, second base, third base umpires. So you could say, well, we think it would have happened this way, but then it's only arbitrary anyway. And therein lies a bigger problem. And so, again, now it's all judgment. So the idea of Jeffrey Meyer, the Jeffrey Meyer rule. Now, look, while baseball fans are permitted to catch and keep balls hit into the stands, Major League Baseball rulebook states that spectator interference is to be called, quote, if spectator reaches out of the stands or goes on the field and touches a live ball, close quote. Now, look, reaching out over the stands is another thing because you have to think about the angle in which they're reaching. Would the ball have essentially been a home run? We'll just call it on a home run ball. Would the ball have been over the fence or not? Or would it hit the yellow line or not on the cushioned wall? Would it be a home run even if the fan didn't touch it? That's the bigger question. That's what the umpires actually have to determine. And you could say it's possible, but then again, what about the olden days? I mean, it was just purely arbitrary. Maybe in today's time with all the camera angles, you can get a better determination, but I've seen one. And it was a game between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Francisco Giants, where the San Francisco Giants hitter hit a ball towards the right field stands, and it looked like it was going to hit the top of the fence or the top of the cushion at the Dome in Arizona. Well, it was determined, even though the fan had put their glove above and basically beyond the right fielder's glove from Arizona. Well, it turns out that it looked like a home run, but apparently, because they played in Arizona, I don't know, something happened where that ball was considered to be in the field of play, even if the fan didn't touch the ball. So that said, the runner was awarded second base, not a home run, which it sure looked like it cleared the wall in the first place because that catch by the fan was over the home run wall. But I guess that's what you call home cooking, folks. So that's where the old Jeffrey Meyer incident and that law kind of comes in. And so essentially, you know what they need to do in the grand scheme of things? Look, there's all kinds of rules and all kind of stuff. What they really need to do, if they have such a problem with this, is to put a buffer zone between the wall, the player. In some stadiums, you have this. For example, at Wright Field in Chicago, where the White Sox play, there is an area of about 5 feet, or maybe just a touch more, maybe 6 feet, in between the home run wall and where the seats start. And you could walk down below there. It's for the groundskeeping, it's for the staff, it's for everybody else, whatever that's involved with the game. And if they did this pretty much in all fields, I mean, even in Wrigley Field, they've got a basket there. And the fans are not reaching over the basket. I've sat in those front row seats where the basket are when I was a little kid, and that hasn't changed. I probably went to 200 games at Wrigley Field. And you can't reach over the basket in the first place because it's kind of a bigger basket than people may think. So if the ball goes into the basket, it's a home run. The reality is they're even at Wrigley Field, they don't have a problem with fan interference as a home run goes because it's not possible. Now, if they really had this ongoing issue where there's so much fan interference, well, they've already bastardized the game now where the people going down the lines, they have to sit behind some kind of netting. Why don't they just put netting around the whole damn thing in the first place? So now there is no fan interference in the first place because that will eliminate everything. I mean, look, I applaud it because we're talking about the elimination of fan interference. I hate the idea that there's netting in the first place, and I think the netting is there largely because these people that go to these games, they spend so much time on their cell phones, not watching the game, checking in, hey, look at me, I'm here, taking selfies, doing this, doing that. Pay attention to the damn game when you go. Don't just go and say, I'm here. No, go when you're at the game, be at the game, watch the game, be a part of the game. I'm not saying interfere with the game, but I'm saying actually watch the game itself. I mean, it's okay, folks. You could do that. You don't have to spend every waking moment on social media. No. Have some fun. Watch the game. That's what they're playing the game for. And it's largely because of things like that. People not paying attention, people getting hit in the head with baseballs and injured and all this other crap. Listen, if you were watching the game in the first place, there's a really good chance that you would have ducked if you saw the ball coming at you, or somebody would have covered you and so forth. But now there's all this netting around the field, and it turns it into I don't even want to say that word. It turns it into one of those kind of games where you can't even enjoy yourself. I mean, look, even the fans, the little kids, they can't even reach across and meet these players and shake their hands or anything like that. And when it comes to sign an autograph, you got to sign it through the netting. You can't even see these guys, face to face, because you got the stupid netting in between, and it's stupid. It really is stupid. Jeez, you go back to the old days, and you could actually see these people, and sometimes the players would pick up the little kids and give them a hug, and here's a selfie with the kid or whatever the hell it is. There's all kinds of neat stuff that could be done, but now everybody's so busy with social media and telephones and crap that the game has been bastardized, and now you have to make special rules just to keep them away. Back here in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, again, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guest, and head on over to the store. There is a store tab across the top of thesportscircus.com, and make sure you check that out, folks. There are lots of great American-made products there: hats, hoodies, t-shirts, beanie hats, coats, sweatpants, pillows, mouse pads, travel mugs, you name it, they're there. Check them out at thesportscircus.com store. And if you mention my name, Ringmaster Sal, you get an extra 10% off of your first order. All right. All right. And by the way, going to wrap up baseball here real quick here with the 10 best fitted hats, iconic Major League Baseball hats, as they are ranked by AmericanHatMakers.com. And they say Major League Baseball caps aren't only for players on the field, but for fans headed to the game, and they're a vital accessory to have in your wardrobe. Picking a team to represent is no longer just based on who you cheer for or what you do or where you live. Your go-to brand may have just dropped their version of your favorite team cap, or the colors perfectly match the rest of your outfit. Whatever the reason, people are turning to these caps to complete their looks. And they compiled a list of their top 10 picks for the best Major League Baseball caps. And here we go. Starting off at number 10 are the New York Metropolitans. That's the orange and blue with the NY in it for the Mets. They say, don't overlook the Mets because they come second in New York in the baseball world. They have a pretty cool Mets fitted hat featuring their signature blue and orange look associated with the team since 1962. And they say the blue and orange color combination is a tribute to the two cities teams that headed out west, being the Giants and the Brooklyn Dodgers, in case you don't know. St. Louis Cardinals come in at second with their, or better yet, number 9 with their hat. They say, when you hear about the St. Louis Cardinals, you might recall Nelly sporting the red STL cap in several music videos from the 2000s. However, the team's cap can depict its mascot as well. So the navy blue and red cap features a cardinal pitching, a rare sight amongst baseball caps. However, something about it clicks with many fans and hat aficionados. The team has used this design since 1998. It's kind of a cool hat. I like that one. Now, the Pirates hat, that comes in 8th. And, of course, the old black and yellow. Of course, all the sports teams, all the pro sports teams in Pittsburgh are the same color, which is pretty cool. No other city does that. In fact, the Pirates cap gained mainstream popularity due to the late 2000s and early 2010s, and that fitted hat adopted their signature black and yellow color scheme in 1948, which remains the same as it is from way back in the day. Nice round of applause for the Pirates. We kind of like the Pirates. We like Paul Skeens, that's for damn sure. How about the Phillies hat? And their older hat, this one is the 80s maroon and powder blue jersey hat. And I think actually some people prefer that one. I kind of like it as well. But it's that P logo. It's that P with the curly, looks like a baseball in the center of the P. That's the idea with this one. And they just seem to change the uniform so often. I don't even know which one it is, but this particular, the burgundy cap with the swirling P is the one that we're referring to. And of course, they say the key here is simplicity, as with most caps on the list. And the Phillies fitted cap features a red base with a white P. It's really not red, it's maroon. While the Phillies cap may not have the same widespread appeal in pop culture as others, you're likely to spot it and say, we know that hat. Now, the Braves hat that they show in number 6, I'm not a big fan of this one because it's got the red bill with the blue, dark blue cap top. I kind of like the lowercase 1970s A. Those hats were pretty cool, and those jerseys were really cool. And the Atlanta Braves fans, everybody listening in on WAUD, you may have a preference of your own, but I like a solid color hat unless it is that 1970s cap with that lowercase a. That's a pretty cool one. Now, the Cincinnati Reds hat comes in at number 5, and of course, it's gained a lot of popularity in mainstream, but I would tell you what, because of guys like Ellie De La Cruz, the most exciting player in baseball, that cap has gotten a hell of a lot more popular single-handedly by him, because prior to that, the big driver was the 1990 World Series team with our buddy Jose Rijo. Of course, Jose was the World Series MVP. Nice round of applause for Jose. And of course, before that, it was the Big Red Machine, but they've kept the same hat since 1957. Now, the Oakland A's hat, which now is just the A's hat, the solid green, it's not the multicolored one. It has the white A's with that outlined as in gold. That one is really cool. I like that one. And as the Sacramento A's move to Las Vegas in 2028, then I, of course, will get a Vegas A's hat. Absolutely. Coming in at number 3, of course, are the Chicago White Sox. Yes! Of course, my home team. I have to whoop it up a little bit for my home team. In fact, AmericanHatmakers.com says the black and white Chicago White Sox cap has had a long-standing relationship with hip-hop since the 1980s and 90s, and the cap is known for simplicity and versatility, making it a wardrobe staple for many. The White Sox logo debuted in 1948. Now, remember, they had different ones. With the one with, they take an S, then there was an O at the upper part of the S, and an X at the lower part of the S as well. That was a really cool one back from the 1919 era, the early 1900s. Anyway, the cap is known for simplicity, as I said, and it was designed by Chuck Comiskey way back in the day. It was the grandson of the team's founder. So although the franchise abandoned the logo after the 1975 season, they came right back to it in 1990. And that still is a really sharp-looking hat. How about the Dodgers hat? Number 2. And the Dodgers fitted hat is a staple of the West Coast and represents more than just the Dodgers, but also the city of L.A., and the team has worn that cap since their move from Brooklyn as the Brooklyn Dodgers back in 1958. So the Dodger blue color scheme has remained consistent over the years and is instantly recognizable by sports fans everywhere. But remember, the Dodgers also had a variation of this cap. I think it was back in the early 1980s or the late 1970s. They had a lighter shade of blue, and then they had a ball with streaking, I guess, red and white streaking lines from it as the Dodger cap as well. Now, I have one of those, and that's why I know that. It's a pretty cool hat as well. I like that one. But they say that the Yankees hat is the most undeniably iconic hat. And you know what? There's not a lot of argument with that one. And people say, well, yeah, it's been a staple of the team's uniform since 1922. It's transcended beyond sports culture to become a symbol of New York City, which is true. And today, the Yankees fitted hat is really widespread, not just in New York, but basically everywhere around the country and around the world. I see people from all over the world wearing this hat, whether they're in Italy or in Sweden or in China or the South Pacific, South America. You see the Yankees hats everywhere. And yeah, I've got one, absolutely. And I've got my old Yankee jersey as well from back in the day as well. But I guess the point is, when I look at this hat, I say, yeah, that is New York. But I don't see, it really looks black. And I know it's blue. I know it's dark, dark blue. It's just a really dark shade of blue. But it is a very, very sharp and stylish hat. And you could almost wear that with a suit if you really wanted to. Yeah, you probably could. So everybody driving back and forth to Vegas, the bigger question is, how many of you are East Coast transplants and how many are you wearing a Yankees hat right now? And I'd be willing to bet that some of you are. Now, the reality is, these baseball caps, I think I have about 100 of them, I'm guessing. I probably have maybe 200 T-shirts. Something like that. But as the workforce has gotten more casual, as the workplace has gotten more casual, it's more about performance rather than what you're wearing. If you're performing, most companies these days, they care what you wear, but if you're not seeing the public and you're basically behind the scenes, they almost don't really care too much. Just try to be professional. Some places are still pretty old school. They want you to wear a suit and tie to work every day. But many, many places will allow you to wear ball caps. And I'll tell you what, in those companies, there's a lot of people wearing Dodger hats, wearing White Sox hats and wearing those New York Yankees hats. And out of the other organizations out there, I would argue that there's probably not as many as some of the other clubs that you would imagine. I would have thought of the top 10, maybe the Cubs hat would have been somewhere, but frankly, it's not. And I got to tell you, I think it's hilarious. That's right, because I am not a Cubs fan, so to me, that's really a nice thing. But I would imagine certain hats, I would imagine the Cardinals hat, yeah, would be up there. But I actually thought it would be the different Cardinals hat, the old school with the Cardinal on the baseball bat that's on an angle. I have one of those, and I also have a Memphis Cardinals, the AAA Memphis Redbirds hat, the AAA team that plays for the Cardinals, and that's a different type of red. It's a little bit of a deeper red. It's a really cool hat as well. Check that one out. That's the Memphis Redbirds. So I've got one of those too, but I would have thought that maybe you would see more of the San Francisco Giants, maybe some more Angels hats, maybe some more Padres hats, and certainly some more Houston Astros hats. But no, they're not even there. In fact, the Texas Rangers hats actually ranked above the Houston Astros hats. I remember my mom got me a Houston Astros hat back in the 1970s when she went down to Houston for some work function. I forget what it was. But in any event, she brought me home one of those orange hats with the star, with the H right in the middle of that star. And I wore that hat over and over. I think that was just one of my things. And orange is my favorite color. So I was thinking, well, geez, I'm going to wear that hat every damn day of my life, which I did basically until the hat was destroyed. But I would imagine some of these teams would be, I guess, more popular. And what's interesting is when you look at the baseball hats, you say, all right, well, the Dallas Cowboys are the most popular football team in America, but the Dallas Cowboy hats are not even in the same area code as the 10 baseball caps that I just mentioned previously, from the Mets all the way to the Yankees. And so you would imagine that probably the number one football team in America, as far as popularity goes, that their hat would be more popular, but it's not. Not even Green Bay is that popular. When you look at the football hats that are out there, it's neither of those teams, and it's not the Kansas City Chiefs either. It's the Buffalo Bills that rule the cap world for the NFL. Anyway, folks, we're run out of time. That's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.